they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. And so before I throw out the telephone numbers in terms of how you can become a part of the conversation today, let me just lay the groundwork for what we're going to be talking about on this show today. The growth of poverty-ridden family, the growth of the poverty-ridden family today is linked directly with the growth of the family headed by the always single mother. Children living in female-headed families with no spouse present, with no male spouse present, have a poverty rate of 45.8%, over 4 times the rate of children in married couple families, and that rate is 9.5%. And this modern form of family disintegration, or more accurately, non-formation, has its consequences for criminal behavior. Now, these are statistics that have been made public as a result of several studies looking at the connection between fatherlessness and crime. So the growth in crime is paralleled by the growth in families abandoned by fathers. And as we continue on GPS to investigate the root causes of crime, we need to discuss the implications of fatherlessness or the fatherless syndrome. And that is what we're going to be talking about today on GPS. So I want to invite you to, if you haven't already done so, like and share the show, because this is going to be a very powerful discourse today. And so here's how you can join in on this conversation. The telephone numbers to call, 3260271. That's 3260271, 3260272. 3260272, and the WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 801-0271. That's 801-0271. We're streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. If you haven't already done so, please like and share the show. Also coming to you live from rumble.com, that's rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no spaces in between. And please follow my channel there. We're coming to you on channel 974 on Cable Bahamas. And you can download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device and carry us with you 24/7. Last but not least, welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of Radioland. And I want to say a special welcome to all of you who are listening in from outside the country, as well as across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So welcome, welcome one and all. All right, so I'm going to bring in my guest onto the stage right now so we can begin this conversation. Now, Jason, I was hoping that you would have set up a camera for each of our guests so that we could have this 3-shot that I wanted to have us set up here. So I need you to see if you can do that for me, please, so that Cleaver has his own camera and Yolanda has her own camera. They each came prepared to use their own device as a camera, so that we could have that single shot on everybody in the studio. Okay, so let's work on that. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask my guests to introduce themselves, beginning with Yolanda. And let me just tell you a little bit of background with her. I first was introduced to her at an event that was being held at my church for Youth Month. She was the guest speaker. And I was blown away by her presentation. I have to tell you, I was most impressed. I was like, whoa, she said some things that shook me up personally, as someone who grew up in a home without a father figure present. And I reached out to her and I invited her to be a guest on my show in another place. So she came on the show and man, she shook me up even more. And I have to credit her because one of the things that she encouraged me to do, and I can let her introduce herself right now, but I got to tell you all this story. One of the things that she encouraged me to do was to reach out to my dad and to have a heart-to-heart conversation with him about the impact of his absence in my life. And I want you all to understand that me and my daddy wasn't mad. We weren't estranged per se. But as a woman who grew up in a home without a father, I can tell you that that had an impact on my life. And that is the truth for anybody who's growing up in that situation. Not to say that a single mother can't pour her all into a child and really help that child to be the best that they can be. But as I often said to my mother growing up, that, you know, you can't teach my brother to be a man because you are a woman. And everything that you do is going to come from the perspective of a woman. Not to say that you can't raise a good man or, you know, teach a boy to be a good person. But that boy, as the girl in that family, needs that male figure in their lives because that's the way that God designed it to be. And each of them play a role, a very specific role. So this woman encouraged me to reach out to my father and to have a heart-to-heart with him. And I did. And, you know, the amazing thing is that I often tell people when you're talking about unforgiveness or unresolved issues, God created forgiveness, not for the person who you are holding something against, but for you. Because 9 times out of 10, that person living their life, they don't even know you carrying something. They living their life. Meanwhile, you got yourself locked up in jail, right? Because you carrying this thing. And so that conversation with my dad was very freeing because my father had no idea that I was carrying what I was carrying because of his absence. And I'm so grateful to you, Yolanda, because my father and I had a very heart-to-heart conversation. And my dad is now no longer here with us on this side of eternity. He's passed away. And I'm so grateful that we had that conversation before he left this earth. Because I would not have been able to fill that hole that needed to be filled with that conversation. We're going deep today, y'all. We're going deep today. And there's some things that are going to be said on this show that you may not necessarily agree with, but hey, we got to agree to disagree. But we have to talk about this serious problem of fatherlessness and the impact that it is having, whether we want to admit it or not, on the lives of our young people especially. So Yolanda, after all of that, Let me let you introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for having me again, Miss Malcolm and Global World. Thank you for having me. My name is Yolanda uh, Roll. I'm Mary Roll. I was born Christian. I'm the biological daughter of Kenneth and Maria Christie. I am the wife of Ambassador Devin Roll and the proud mother of four beautiful, very energetic children. Devin, three girls. Devin is one, my oldest. Daniel is my only son, second. Then there's Dolly, and then there's Dina. Professionally, I am an attorney at law by profession, having been at the honorable bar for the last 20 years of my life. And I am the now sole senior partner in the firm Kingdom Advocates and Associates. So I'm excited to have been called back, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
As am I. Now, Cleaver, we already have you both on screen, so go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
I don't present the type of accolades like Ms. Roll, but I'm just Cleaver Duncombe, the president of Bahamian Fathers for Children Everywhere. I've been an advocate for addressing the need for fathers to play a more important role. It took me just 40 months. When persons would have told me it would take me 40 years just for the discussion to gain acceptance. But we were very successful in getting the Child Protection Act passed in Parliament. That particular bill, Ms. Malcolm, was supposed to wipe away every tear that people are experiencing today from every eye. But unfortunately, the Child Protection Act, it's flawed. It is not gender neutral. It has no ombudsman. It has no regulations. I can go on and on and on and on and on about how dysfunctional that piece of legislation is. Hopefully today, after some of my commentary, hopefully the powers that be will be listening. As a matter of fact, we should try tell a friend that listen to Global 99.9.5 right now, because we're going to be talking about some of the serious, deep social issues that is plaguing this nation. And at the root core of it is absenteeism of fathers.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, C. Allen Johnson, welcome back. Now C. Allen is usually a guest on my show when we're talking about other things. C. Allen always comes with these, some people call it far-fetched theories, or, he calls himself the critical thinker. But the reason I wanted C. Allen on this show today is because he's coming from a different perspective now. C. Allen is speaking on this show today as a father who was impacted by the ruling that the Privy Council made, saying that single Bahamian men could pass on their citizenship to their children who were born in the Bahamas to foreign women, because he had found himself in that position. And he has some very powerful views on why it is important for fathers to be given access to their children in more ways than one. So, C. Allen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm C. Allen Johnson, technology expert. Most people know me around town as critical thinker. Let me say that I don't think we give Cleaver Duncombe enough credit for the advocacy that he has taken. When I came home, I've never met someone so directed and passionate concerning fatherhood. Having this many kids, yeah, I know you can't see the figure. And let's say it's more than 10, but less than 20. And guess what? having custody and being actively involved in every single one of their lives, and no criminal record, I don't think they ever get speeding tickets. If they did, they never told me. Married, some single, doing whatever, involved in business, college educated, advanced placement themselves, and 3 brand new ones right now in the Bahamas. When I say brand new, we put them under the age of 21.
Tell them how old your youngest child is, C. Allen.
0 months, 1 month.
C. Allen's still making baby, y'all. How old are you, C. Allen?
I'm 60.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but remember, see, what happens is the aged wine is the best wine, and that's why when people question my quality, remember, I also came from an aged bottle. Okay, that's very close.
I
to
hear that.
7 years old.
I hope you're taking your vitamins because that child will keep you on your toes. I hope you're taking your
Well,
vitamins.
yes, I'm gonna learn from the trouble I gave my father, who in the range of 70 and 10 produced twins, and I have younger brothers and sisters.
Wow.
But that's a story for another day. And believe it or not, and the reason I speak of that, and I understand the impact of fathers, and just as a sidebar, it wasn't until I reached into my teens that I didn't realize it was then when I realized that my father and mother were not married
Hmm.
and didn't even live together, and that's how the involvement was. It was like, if you'd asked me, I would have told you that no, they live together.
Right. That's how much he was present in your life.
Yes, and with my twin
Right.
brother and younger brothers and sisters. But going back to Cleaver, we had an opportunity when I came home 2 decades ago to change the paradigm shift. I know the new conversation we're having now today is supposed to be new to most people, but most people may have forgotten or didn't pay attention to the conversation we had. If you look at the age of the children today that is involved with crime, you would see it is literally sits in that pocket of the 2 decades and 5 years that Cleaver has been in the fight, and I myself has joined him in that fight. And we did not take today serious. Not then. We didn't take today serious, and that's why we are where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
It's most important that we have an honest, open conversation concerning the reality of what we were, who we are, and who we can be as a country. And so, I know most people expect me I usually talk on technology, finances, and the future of our country. Well, today is one of those conversations concerning the future of our country, and understanding a problem can help us solve it. Like just round it up saying, a problem properly stated, which means that it must be understood, is 90% of the solution, and the 10% is action. And so let's seek to understand what the problem is so we can begin to take action and bring resolution.
Okay, so let's do that. Before we dive into the conversation, I'm going to play a very short clip that is going to give you some statistics as it relates to fatherlessness.
63% of youth suicides are from single mother homes. 90% of homelessness and runaway children are from single mother homes.
You can't put that on the mother.
85% of children who show behavioral disorders are from single mother homes. 80% of rapists with anger problems are from single mother homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from single mother homes. 70% of youths in operated institutions are from single mother homes. 80% of all the youths that are in prison are from single mother homes. This shows that boys and girls need both their mother and their father. And I will tell you, as a father, I know from raising my son that he needs both me and his mother in his life.
Okay, now, first thing, you notice that right away, one of the women in that clip started to say, you can't put that on a mother. So instantly it was going to become a battle of men against women, us against them. But he ignored her and continued to cite the statistics. I want to say that this is not a show about women against men, us against them. We don't have no time for that. All you have to do is look around, see what is happening in our country, and you know we are in crisis. So we don't have no time to be playing no game about man against woman and who competing against. If you have that mindset, don't even bother to call. I ain't accommodating you all today because we have too much important things to discuss today on a very limited amount of time. It's already 2:23. So that being said, the whole point is that both have a role to play in the rearing of children. We're not negating the role that women have to play in the rearing of their children. But there is something that happens when that positive male figure is not present. You cannot deny that. And if you look at the makeup of our society, more than 70% of our homes are led by single women. Is there then any wonder why we are seeing what we're seeing in our society? Yolanda, let's hear from you first. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I totally agree with you, Michelle. I think we have gone past the fight of us against them, and based on and I will call it what it is, the sickness that's pervading in our nation. We have to set aside our very pedestrian differences and look at the wider picture. I speak from a place of understanding the impact of the absent father and what it brings to a home, what it brings to a community, what it then brings to a nation. And the first thing that I want to say, so that we don't seem to be insensitive to the mothers and the women that have held it down for as long as they've held it down, we are very grateful. We thank you. Your shoulders were definitely the ones that we stood on to become the enlightened, educated woman. However, whenever you want to understand how something ought to operate and function properly, you have to go to the manufacturer's manual.
Exactly. And
the truth of the matter is, Jonathan McReynolds has a song that says, "This is his world, we're just living in it." And when we, and I think we've tried for long enough to do it outside of the prescription that God has set. And I always tell people wherever I go, I'm a Jesus girl, I'm a church girl, I make no apologies for it. And with all of my enlightenment, with all of my degrees, with all of my smarts, with all of my independence, the bottom line is there is a structure that God has set in place that if we don't do it his way, we won't get his results. And I think that's what we're doing. We're not doing it his way. And one of the fundamental components of his world is this: he created man first. Everything that exists comes out of the male seed. The student can only be as good as the teacher, never really surpassing, because even when you feel you've surpassed the teacher, your reference point is still the teacher. Even though I'm the lawyer making more than my high school educator, the truth of the matter is I have to refer to, for example, Mrs. Nottage is teaching me how to properly dissect and manage and handle the English language. And that I will always have to refer to the teacher. We as women, we have to refer to the thing that we came out of, and that's the man. And I just recently, my husband was just honored at a conference, the Hoodie conference put on by Theophilus Thompson. Pastor Rex Major was also honored at that conference. And one of the things that I said to them, and I've asked God and I've told him, whatever platform I get, I am going to, with all that is in me, restore honor to the office of manhood. There is an honor that is due to him simply because he is the office holder. Whether he is flawed, whether you feel he's sensible, whether you feel whatever you feel his faults are, the fact that he is holding that office, we as women are mandated to provide and to give him the level of respect and honor simply because he's the office holder. And for the women, that's the challenge that we have. And truthfully, as I speak to wrap up my contribution on this, truthfully, we have a society whereby mothers very innocently, sometimes ignorantly, sometimes willfully, have passed on cups of bitter pain to their daughters.
This is true.
To our daughters, don't go through what I went through. Don't live the life that I live. And in order to not do that, we have said to our daughters, you need to excommunicate the man out of the equation and show him that you can do this without him. That's simply just purely antichrist. And we live in a world today, even as we see the progression of the sickness in the world, the woman, the female seed, has been made to say and believe that she can do it all without a man. Even so, to the point, Michelle, we are now so depleted to the state where we used to say there was only one thing we needed him for, which was sex and to have children. We live in a world now that has literally told us as women, we don't even need that for them. We don't need them for that because we got toys and we got labs. So this spirit of the enemy has sought to pretty much X men out of the equation. And we women have told ourselves and sold ourselves the lie that we can do it without them. It's impossible. Like you said in the discussion we had earlier, a woman can never teach a man, a boy child, to be a man. I dare to say this. I've been challenged on many fronts when I say this. I dare to say that a man can teach a woman how to be a woman. He can teach his daughter how to be a woman, but a woman can never teach her son how to be a man. Why am I saying that a man can teach his daughter to be a woman? Because remember, the origin of it is we came from him, so that everything that is in us, the rib that was extracted, came out of him. And so out of him we are. And so the very essence of who he can train us to be, it's in him. And so we as women, we have to slide the cup of pain away from us and say, I've been made to do this on my own for so long, but it's not the burden that I ought to be rightfully carrying. And that's why we live in society with bitter women, angry women, frustrated women, and these are the same women that lead households where our young boys are in. And so when he sees mommy bitter, he sees mommy angry, he sees mommy frustrated, the male in him wants to alleviate that, and at all costs he does what he feels he needs to do to alleviate that, oftentimes appropriating mommy's posture to himself. And because the father or the male figure, because it doesn't have to be a biological father, because he's absent, the direction and training that we need to flip this script right side up, we're missing. And we as women, we play a great part in restoring this honor to the office of manhood, so that the symptoms that we're seeing on our street, the murder is just symptomatic of hurt. The murder is symptomatic of pain. The murder is symptomatic of feeling abandoned, feeling neglected. These are symptoms. We have to get to the root of the problem so that we can address it properly.
Yeah, you said a mouthful there, especially the part about the cup of pain. There's a really great book written by a lady by the name of Laurie Beth Jones called The Path. And in that book, she talks about the cup of pain, the fact that not just women, but our parents, through their own life experiences, their triumphs, their disappointments, whatever, they are carrying around this cup of pain for all of the disappointments that they have in their lives. And as opposed to letting their children live their own lives and create their own, existence, they transfer that cup of pain to their children because they want their children to avoid going through what they would have gone through, the disappointments that they would have gone through. And ironically, Yolanda, when I had that conversation with my father, I said to him, I referred to that book and I said, Daddy, there's this book called The Path. And in it, she talks about the cup of pain and how parents tend to pass that cup of pain onto their children. I said to him, and Mommy shared her cup of pain with me. And so much of my perception of my father was through the eyes of my mother's pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you are so right. This is one of the major problems that we have in this country today, especially when you talk about the angry mother,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many women who have gone through having a child for this one and having a child for the next one and thinking the next one is going to be better and the next one is going to get better. And 5, 6 children later, and I'm not saying it was the best decisions, but 5, 6 children later, here she is in the midst of poverty, trying to raise these 6 children, frustrated as ever, and taking it out on those children, oftentimes. And so what we see as a result is you have this anger welling up in these young people, and it's spilling out into our streets. So we really, really have to look at this holistically if we ever hope to solve this problem. It's not enough for us to be pointing fingers at each other and throwing blame at each other without getting to the root cause. And I dare say that this whole question of fatherlessness is very much at that root. But we have to take a break. My producer's playing music. We're going to take this break. When we come back, we're going to hear more from Cleaver and C. Allen as we continue this conversation. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Youngevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Youngevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. And we are back. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here in your company this afternoon with my guest, C. Allen Johnson, Cleaver Duncombe, and Yolanda Roll. The telephone numbers to call if you want to join in on this conversation are 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272, and the WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 801-0271. That's 801-0271. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show if you haven't already done so. Also coming to you live on rumble.com. That's rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no spaces in between. We're on Cable Bahamas, channel 974. And you can download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device and carry us with you 24/7. Last but not least, welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of Radio Land and all of you who are listening in from throughout the country and around the world. A huge welcome to you all. So before I bring my guests back onto the stage, I want to play a clip. And this is a short one, but this confirms what we discussed in the first segment of the show with regard to the cultural norms nowadays as it relates to how men, fathers in particular, are treated.
Cultural norm is demasculating a man. It's taking the father out of the family. It's taking the leader out of that family. And in order to go against that, then we need to be savage in the way that we are going to lead our families.
Right.
And the culture is, you look at it in just about any aspect of how things are beginning to go downhill. And you look at fatherless homes. Fatherless homes are the number. It is. It's an epidemic, and that's where a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, a lot of things are coming out of. You need a positive male role model in the home to lead that family.
All right, so let's bring our guests back onto the stage. This is a cultural problem, y'all. This is the new norm now, it seems, where there is this all-out effort to diminish the masculinity of the man and his role in the family structure. And I dare say that is very intentional. I don't think it's a coincidence that we see this happening. Gentlemen, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on this?
All right, Ms. Malcolm. It's Cleaver Duncombe here. I'll say this, Michelle. When I listen to Ms. Roller, she speak, right? When she talked about the absentee father. You see, fathers, we are the providers and the protector. When you remove the protector away from the family structure, you're going to, it's very easy for the home to be taken over by many sorts of different vices. But when you're talking about children being affected and women using children as pawn, it is called PAS, Parental Alienation Syndrome. Many kids are challenged with it. You say something about their father, and they'll start, they can write an 800-word essay on how lousy he is. That's brainwashing. And that is what many of our children are faced with. But the sad thing is, Ms. Malcolm, our leaders, our Black leaders are the biggest perpetrator to this evil. Our government, successive, they are the biggest evil to this wickedness that is causing the blood to rise as high as it could possibly be towards the horse's bridle. Now, firstly, before I say this, I want to say this. Murder number 17, Sunday night. I woke up late and I said, you know what, let me check my phone. And I saw what was going on in Hospital Lane. People can say what they want to say, but that female, Deja Kemp, that's a young lady I knew after weeks when she was born. I know Deja. Everybody have their lifestyle. not saying that that is what caused what would have happened to her. But the bottom line is, Miss Malcolm, this thing is coming home much too close for me. And I ask and I pray to God to remove this cup away from me. Because I don't know what I would do, Miss Malcolm, if one of my family members become a victim to senseless crime. I don't know. I'm almost certain, though, that it will cause my human nature to depart my body. I know that.
I want to go back to something you said, Mr. Duncombe, about the government being responsible for part of this evil. What do you mean by that? Explain that, please.
Okay, I'll get into that. But I just wanted to pay homage to Deja, and may her soul rest in peace, right? Now, when I came on the scene on July 13th, 2003, I initiated the court action to get what they call access, even though that was the farthest thing from my mind that I was looking for. Because when you're talking access, you're talking about buildings. You're not talking about children. I wanted shared common responsibility in law. But my biggest impediment was a government legislation, the Affiliations and Proceedings Act 119 at the time. They legislate how children should be reared and who should be the custodial parent without checking to see who is more fit and ready, When I came on the scene, that Affiliation Act only recognized the mother. It never recognized the father. The father could not petition the court for nothing. The mother would have had to initiate a court action so the father can come to court to pay maintenance. That's about it. That was basically it. That was our law right up to 2007. But the sad thing is we are having this type of discussion. Then I thought that this should have been behind us. We should have been now discussing, Ms. Malcolm, how effective have the Child Protection Act been since its enforcement in 2009. But here we are talking about whether or not men should be given access, fathers should be given. See, we signed on to a treaty, Ms. Malcolm. We signed on to a treaty in 1989 we became a signatory to this treaty, the Geneva Convention, which speaks to the rights of children. We ratified it in 1991. The government of the Bahamas was supposed to write laws, local laws, to address this vexing problem. One of the articles in that particular treaty, it states very clearly, that the state must respect the rights of parents and members of the extended family to provide guidance which is appropriate to these children evolving capacity. And another article in it states that parents would have shared common responsibility. But here it is. Here it is. And I have to use strong adjectives to describe these people because this blood is becoming much too high. Those idiots in Parliament decided to write the Child Protection Act when it states, that wherever laws are applicable, no matter the jurisdiction to those articles in the Geneva Convention, only the higher standard shall prevail. But the Child Protection Act states, when it comes to the issue of parenting, that all parents would have responsibility. But in the case of the child born out of wedlock, the father would have to satisfy Article 14.2, which speaks to the issue of maintenance. And if he isn't paying any maintenance, chances are his parental involvement could be revoked from the court. Imagine that. They cut and paste basically all of the contents in the Affiliations Act, where a father have to prove something or the mother would have to be on drugs, would have to abuse the child. I mean, this is 2024 we are talking here, This is 2024. But here we are again, having this foolish discussion, but important, because no way I was going to allow anyone to mold and shape my daughter. Yes, she may have been born out of wedlock at the time, but who cares? Who cares? God still bless you with a child. The child didn't have to come here. You know many married people who are trying to have children and can't procreate? We are playing nonsense We were playing nonsense with this, and it's based on some fundamental things. You have some pastors, some prominent people in our society, the politicians. They're all married. They are procreating and making babies all over the place, but they don't want no legal responsibility to these children. So hence we have what we have, where we have fathers. And let me say this. There are some basic realities that will come out of a single parent home or a child or a home that is raised by one parent. One, pay attention to this, Ms. Malcolm. Listen, children who come from a single parent home, many of them have lower grades academically. They have a lot of uncertainties about their future. 3 is very important because I'm going to come back to this. 3 states that they have difficulties relating to their peers. Young girls become promiscuous at an early age. They get impregnated at an early age. Then this issue of STDs and STIs. Then we have the stepfather. Do you know that stepfathers are 6 times more likely to sexually abuse children in their care than biological fathers? Likewise with stepmothers. But when you look at how our laws are set up, Ms. Malcolm, the biological father has to go through hell and high water to get close to his child. But yet, the stepfather, the boyfriend, the family friend, the mother can change them a dime a dozen. It doesn't matter. No one policed that. And hence we have this high level of abuse. We don't report. See, and here's the caveat to all of this. I may have said this on the last show. When you check U.S. prisons, 80% of those children, 80% of prison inmates were abused at some point in time as a child. In the Bahamas, we have been averaging for decades over 400 reported cases of various forms of child abuse. But we know the statistics. For every one that goes reported, at least 3 goes unreported. So if you times that by 4, you see how we are compounding this problem and creating a lot of the mayhem that is happening mostly in the inner city and the black communities, The white man, the white Bahamian, the county Joe, whatever you want to call them, they're not killing up one another. The expatriates are not killing up one another. The Chinese are not killing up one another. The only people who are killing up one another are people who look like me. Black people, the black male. And I repeat, this is a deliberate extermination of a particular race. Make no mistake, our government is engaged in genocide.
Wow.
It's deliberate.
Let's get C. Allen in here on this. And before you start, C. Allen, I just want to say, I want to reiterate something that Yolanda said in the first part of the show. We are not disparaging women who find themselves in a position where they have to raise their children by themselves. I am the product of a single parent home. My parents were married, separated, never divorced. But my reality was I never saw my mother in the role of wife. She raised her children by herself. So I'm the product of a single parent home, even though my parents never divorced. So, my mother did everything that she could in her power to raise her children as best as she could. And I would like to think that I am a product of a very good mother, who has been able to achieve and do quite well for myself. So it's not to say that it is, every child born to a single mother is going to turn out to be. No, that's not what we're suggesting on this show at all. And I need to make that point very, very clear, because I don't want people to get lost and confused into what we're not trying to say on this show. Okay? So, C. Allen, with that being said, let's get you in on this.
Well, let me say I endorse everything that Cleaver said. And having joined him in 2004 in the advocacy for rights for fathers. Mind you, I had no children here in the Bahamas at that particular time, but I understood having children in the United States, understand the role that fathers play in that environment. Understand that data and statistics is not something new to me, and so I was very understanding, having been involved in the church and men's and mentoring group, and for my fraternal order, Alpha Phi Alpha, who is strong on men, boys, mentoring relationship. In fact, we have a program called Alpha Males, which is Alpha stands for Alpha Phi Alpha, and mentoring, and male stands for mentoring and leadership equals success, to act as a surrogate for those individuals that may not have children. I joined Cleaver in the fact that we saw these type of issues. I can tell you unequivocally, the laws of the Bahamas provided a gateway for individuals who were making laws to escape the responsibility of fatherhood. And so we've had these watered down laws over the last 3 decades that has basically given them an opportunity to abscond from their responsibilities of father, which then led to the further deterioration of the family. But when you look at exactly the impact of father, Cleveland made a lot of those points. But if you study gang psychology and creation, which is we are saying that we have a problem in the Bahamas, boys from father absent home literally seek out male bonding and validation, which then makes gang very, very attractive. If you look at the statistics, fatherless home are in the highest demographics in the rates of poverty, for the single parent home, because it is just naturally assumed that fathers, and we hear this in the Bahamas, basically have a greater ability of earning to basically support a family. And this is not the narrative that we have allowed the feminist movement to inflict upon us here in the Bahamas, with this argument concerning men and women being equal. Because if I take a sidebar on that and you simply say this, that nothing prevents in the high earning jobs that men do, construction and the other type of mechanics and other different things, nothing prevents women from coming into those. And so when you begin to look at the disparity between salaries, they are not in context concerning the positions that they would be seeking. So you take a person, say, in the area of construction, and say he makes $1,000 a week, and a woman over here makes $300 a week, so men earn more, and it becomes a distortion. And we are very good at distorting data in the Bahamas. One of the most important aspects, and this is from the creation of the world, is for fathers to lead. And again, the best way for a father to lead is through association and through connectivity. There's nothing that actually can replace the contact of a father. The absent doesn't do it. In the Bahamas, and I joined Cleveland this, when I came home, I joined him in advocating for what is called shared custody. The way shared custody works like it does in the US, and I was involved in one instance for a short period of time where my daughter lived with me until she was about, from birth until she was about 7 or 8 years old, and her mother decided that she wanted to have custody of her because of the financial association of the same to it. And so we went through a battle. So I went through the court system. And one of the things that my battle with that established a few decades ago was an enhancement of the shared custody arrangements in the state of Florida, where when a child is born, and I've advocated this for over 2 decades in the Bahamas, went to almost every town meeting that social service had on the rights of the child and child advocacy in Grand Bahama and the other islands, Abaco and on New Providence, is that when a child is born, automatically we actually do a paternity test to establish paternity. I am one that believes that in the age where we are right now, paternity should be conducted on married and unmarried women.
It's very important.
Right. You understand this? Understand, because it's always babies, mommy's babies and daddy's maybe. And so and so what we have to do is that child has a right to understand its proper lineage in respect to who they are, who they identify as, who they are medically, psychologically, and otherwise. And so, yes, you don't believe it or not, we could have this type of conversation then. We should basically have it now. But essentially what it does, it says both parents have equal custody, equal access to the child. The caveat is the court system or through special arrangements, those parents decide who will be the custodial parent. Not that you will have the right of the child. That means the child has a right to live with both parents at any given time, and 24-hour access by both parents. One become within reason as custodial parents. You set up shared holidays, you shared birthdays, shared whatever as a rule of law. You also establish, based on the needs of the child and the earning potential of whatever non-custodial parent, the contribution that individuals can make financially, but also the establishment of a social safety net that does not exist in the Bahamas. And we had the young lady who was just sentenced to 1 year in prison, shows the failure of that social safety net by virtue of her seeking out assistance from government, and they said that she was not a citizen eligible for aid. But a social safety net, by international covenants and by our very own law, is meant to protect the child under the age of 18. So those children itself should have been given aid and protection of the state. The state becomes the protection when the failure of a parent or parents is in effect. We have most likely thousands of individuals in those.
Well, we agreed to that Sea Island internationally in the Geneva Convention, eh? It states that when parents feel in their capacity, it is the state's obligation.
Let's hear from Yolanda on this before we take our next break. We are at a time for a break, but I want to hear from Yolanda on this point before we move on.
Well, I mean, the legalese of it, we can get into the legal debates, the governmental debates, all the structural debates, but here's my fundamental position on it. You can't cure something that's spiritual with natural remedies. And the reality of it is, we've had toothless legislation for years. We've had toothless efforts of trying to make it right. This is not to say that we ought not to continue the track. However, I think fundamentally, and I know I'm not phobic in any way, and I'm aware that not everyone subscribes to the Judeo-Christian principles or beliefs, but the point is, the family structure is God's idea. Children are God's idea. Males are God's idea. Females are God's idea. This is all his idea. We have tried to operate outside of him with our own intellect that he gives us for long enough. And save and accept, there is a spiritual intervention in the heart of the politician, in the heart of the legislators, in the heart of the father, in the heart of the mother. We will be at this same conversation 200 years from now. And so the reality of it is, while we do these try to have these natural, exhaust these local natural remedies, my basis is you cannot fix a spiritual problem with natural remedies. And the heart of the women need to change. The heart of males need to change. The heart of legislators need to change. It's a heart problem. And no paper, I don't care how long it is, how much enforcement there is behind it, Geneva Convention, the Human Rights Conventions, the Child Protection Act. If there is not a change in the heart of man, then our efforts are going to continue to be in vain. And so I would like us to begin to put more emphasis on fixing our internal issues paramount. And then when these internal issues are fixed, then I think we will begin to see more lasting change that we're trying to see. That's my position on it all. Because I can have the legal arguments because it's my training. I can have the political arguments, been around it long enough. However, there needs to be a coming together, a merging, a synergy between that which is natural, legal, political, and spiritual if we are going to stop the conversation anytime soon. We are too busy mopping up water that nobody is taking the time to find the faucet and turn it off.
But Michelle,
you said
oh dear, that's
no. Get married.
What you saying?
No. Getting married. The point is, I knew you were
I just
going
want to
to
understand
a break.
Ms. Malcolm.
I know you were going to a break.
But
No, go ahead. Let's go.
No, Ms. Malcolm, let me just
I can always take that break. Wait, let me let her finish a point.
That's why she spoke about this. I have a problem with that. Let me hear you say.
It's not about getting married. The point of the matter is, if you have children out of wedlock, children are heritage and heirs from the Lord. I don't care how much a man and a woman feel they get together, children are sent by God. Okay, that can happen in a marriage or outside of the marriage. What I'm saying is, to the woman, for example, I will use your situation as succinctly as I understand it. The mother that was keeping you away from your daughter, despite you wanting to be in her life 100%. That Affiliation of Proceedings Act was a toothless bulldog to her. The Child Protection Act for many men, even now, and women, is a toothless bulldog. Exactly. What I'm saying is there needs to be an intervention into the very essence of the person that's going to cause me to be convicted beyond what a politician or a legislator tells me I need to do. There needs to be a level of conviction in me as a mother that says my daughter needs her father. I don't care whether our relationship worked. I don't care whether I like him or not. My daughter needs her father. She is just as 100% him as she is me, and I ought not reject her or be a hindrance to that connection. That legislation is not going to do that to the frustrated, bitter, angry woman. And so my position is, we can continue with the legislations, but there needs to be a spiritual awakening, a spiritual training, whether it's counseling, something deeper that's going to affect our very essence as humans, that will now cause us to give credence to these papers, because the black and white, truthfully, are toothless bulldogs. And our murder rates is showing us exactly that. We say, lock them up. Put them before the courts. They get bail and they're out on bail for 4 murders. So the black and white at this point are toothless bulldogs. Our country and our nation is sick, and we need a spiritual intervention. No, I'm not saying no. There needs to be a marrying. I'm saying. Remember, I said there needs to be a merger and a more suitable and sensible merger, a coming together of all stakeholders so that we can affect real change.
Okay.
Michelle,
All right.
let me just say this.
Go ahead.
Michelle,
Go ahead.
let me take where she says it's like an argument of the chicken or the egg. And so the question is, how did we go astray? We went astray because of the separation, which the law gave consent to that separation. God gave us law. And you know what law is meant to create? Culture. Culture is behavior, the way you think, the way you behave, the way you speak, the way you see things. That's what law does. That's what God gave us to begin with. In fact, you could take his commands concerning being fruitful and multiply, to manage the earth, to govern and to take control of, which is the command he gave to man to it. And so we've allowed these laws to separate us from holding that mandate by putting holes in the bucket. And this is why when the law forces a cultural aspect of a behavior which had separated us, when it forces the cultural behavior that a man must go into his position of leadership of his child, and a woman must allow it by law, it becomes a culture. It changes our behavior. And so the whole concept is that the fact that you have a defective law, just because you call it something doesn't make it what it is. You're calling it out of its name. And this is why both Cleveland and I have argued that if we want restoration of the family, then we need to fix these defective laws, because we see advocacy, which is ultra virus to what our even Christian principles are. Not necessarily belief, I say Christian principle. And it even violates what we have an expectation from the rule of law, of equity. It doesn't happen in this country. And so when in the fact that we never did it, we began to have this outside influence that began to shape the way we behave, the way we think. And then we begin to want to adopt the world as part of the standard, the independent woman. I don't need this, I don't need that, and all of these different things. When I came home almost 25 years ago, they used to brag that almost 50-something% of homes in the Bahamas was headed by women. Just recently in the last year, they were bragging that 70-something% is headed by women. How does you in 20 years, literally 1% per year, begin to brag about the disintegration of the family.
Are you sure they were bragging, C. Allen, or
No,
just stating fact?
They were bragging.
The women's movement say it with a sense of authority. This is why women's rights is needed. This is why women need to do this. This is why this whole equality thing that happened. When women should not be looking for equality, women should be looking for equity, not equality. There's a significant difference between the two of them. And we've allowed external forces to shape who we are personally and as a country internally. And so we've allowed outsiders who don't believe in the exact principle that we do to shape and mold us as a society, because we want to fit in when we were designed to stand out.
We had a former prime minister who stated very emphatically, publicly, that look at me, children who need no fathers. Imagine that. Imagine that. Look at me. And that's put a dent in the campaign.
We have to take a break. We are 9 minutes past my break time, actually more than that. So let's take this break. Now, let me just say this. This whole first hour of the show, we have been speaking from the perspective of the good father who wants to be a part of his child's life. But we got to admit now, we got some sperm donors out there. And we have to address them as well. So we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Stay with us. This is GPR Answers.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Youngevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Youngevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here in your company, along with my guests, Cleaver Duncombe, Yolanda Roll, and C. Alan Johnson. The numbers to call 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272. The WhatsApp line for messages and calls is 801-0271, 801-0271. We're streaming live on Facebook, on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. Please like and share the show if you haven't already done so. Also coming to you live on rumble.com. Look for Global Paradigm Shift, all one word, no spaces in between, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd go ahead and follow my channel there. Speaking of channels, we're on Cable Bahamas 974, and you are welcome to download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device and carry us with you there. Welcome to all of you who are tuned in by way of radio, and a huge welcome to all of you listening from outside the country, and of course those of you who are tuned in from within the country as well. Before I bring my guests back onto the studio, I want to play a clip. This is an iconic scene, the show that was very popular back in the 90s, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And every so often, even though it was a comedy, that show used to hit some serious topics. And in this one particular episode, the character Will, who, as those of you who are fans of the show, you know that he was living with his Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil in Bel-Air, but he was a boy from Philly who had grown up without his father. And in this particular episode, his father showed up to a home where he was living in Bel-Air, and, you know, was showing him a great time, and then decided that he wanted to take him with him. And this is a father who had been absent for the first 14 years of his life. And the character Will was all excited that his father finally wanted to be with him and take him with him, and was all set to go. And then the father decided at the last minute that he did not want that responsibility of taking his son with him. So this clip that I'm about to play picks up on the scene where the father's about to slip out, and then Will comes in, and they have this dialogue. I want you to listen to this.
Lou, if you walk out of Will's life now, don't you ever come back.
Sit down.
I ain't got time for no lecture.
I said sit down, Lou. You know, Will was doing just fine until you showed up. But now that you're back, you have responsibilities to him.
Look, we're still gonna take the trip.
Oh, bull! Bull! Will is not a coat that you hang in the closet, then pick it up when you're ready to wear it. His life goes on. He's not supposed to be here for you. You're supposed to be here for him.
You get off my back! You think I want this? It just happened! Now, when Will was a baby, I was scared.
Cut the crap, all right? Cut it! Because I've been there. But I didn't run out on my family. I was there every day for them, because that's what a man does.
Fine, Philip. You win. You the man. You a better man than me. You happy? Now, you gonna tell Will or not?
I'm not gonna do your dirty work for you.
Fine. I'll call him from the road.
Yeah, then why don't you do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. Daddy-o! What's up? Will, man, I'm glad you're here. Some business came up I gotta handle. So we're gonna have to put our trip on hold. You understand?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Just for a couple of weeks.
I understand.
Yeah, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, whatever.
Look, I'll call you next week and we'll iron out the details. Okay?
Yeah.
It was great seeing you, son.
You too, Lou.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Will.
You know what? Actually, this works out better for me. You know, the Slimmies of summer come to class wearing next to nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Will, it's all right to be angry.
Hey, why should I be mad? I'm saying at least he said goodbye this time. I just wish I hadn't wasted my money buying this stupid present.
I'm sorry. If there was something that I
Hey,
could
you know
do-
what? You ain't got to do nothing, Uncle Phil. Hey, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, you know? Ain't like I'm gonna be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, you know? Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I, Uncle Phil?
you did.
Got through my first date without him, right? I learned how to drive, I learned how to shave, I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then and I don't need him now.
Will.
Nah, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm gonna have me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come he don't want me, man?
Listen, I get teary-eyed every time I watch that scene. I think that's the best acting Will Smith ever did in his life. No, no, but the rawness of the emotion that boy felt at the rejection of his father. And I just don't think that men, and I'm not talking about all men, because clearly we have some good fathers out there who want to be a part of their children's lives, but those who don't, I don't think they understand or have an appreciation for the level of pain that absence causes. I will tell you all this real quick before I invite you in to join in. I was visiting a friend of mine a couple of years ago in an inner city community. And that particular friend of mine has a little convenience store. And this little boy came into the store and was, doing his shopping or whatever. And a gentleman came in and said, "Hey, boy, how you doing?" And he said, I'm fine. He said, "I just saw your daddy the other day, and he asked me, how you doing?" And that little boy's face lit up. He said, "My daddy asked about me?" And the man was like, yeah, he just asked me when I see you and how you doing. My heart broke for that child. Because for him to have that reaction tells you that his father is not a part of his life. And just the feeling of, oh my God, he actually had a thought of me? Now what is going to happen to that boy's life? And it could be where he has a really good mother who will do everything that she can to try to raise him as best as she can. But does that man understand the wound that child is carrying by his absence? We have a lot of men in this country. I'm sorry. You ain't nothing more than sperm donors. You dropping seed all over the place, having children all over the place like it's a sport. Not realizing that those wounded children will become wounded adults.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle, let's look at the statistics. In the studies for social aspect of it, especially in the Black community, it shows that 70% or more of mothers made no effort of attaching or involvement of the father. In fact, it showed that behavior over the last 3 or 4 decades has shown steps to even for alienation. If you go, I don't want to use the U.S., but I want to just use because it correlates to us from when the U.S. came with the real deal, when they said that you could have housing and you could have social part of the social safety net if the father's not in the house. And those same shows had the same type of environment. The question we have to ask ourselves is where was the strength of the mother for reconciliation with these fatherly figures, even here in the Bahamas? Is because women in nature are emotional creatures, and when they hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't want to see or associate with the father, and then that creates a tool for separation of the child and creates an environment for a dual impact and effect. And this is where we talked about the law about shared custody in creating a culture of involvement and having functioning social safety net that substitute for both fathers and for mothers. I guarantee you, we had a properly functioning social safety net that gives equity and accountability for both men and women. You'd see a whole lot of fathers stepping up to the plate, and rather than trying to fight upstream, to be involved in the capacity they would seek. And
But is that child not worth that fight, C. Allen?
No, but
I hear what you're saying.
You see,
Hold on. I hear what you are saying with regard to the fact that the system does not make it easy for fathers to be a part of their children's lives.
Make it easy. Possible.
I hear that. But at the end of the day, we are talking about a child, a human being, who does not understand. Should have to hold on, C. Allen.
Go ahead.
Who does not understand?
An emotional argument. I want to make an argument concerning the law and sense.
My point is this: the law is what it is, and I'm not saying it should be, and we should not strive to fix it. The fact is, though, as difficult as that uphill climb may be for you to gain access to your child, is that child not worth that effort? Because at the end of the day, that child, hold on, Kiana, let me finish my point. At the end of the day, that child is not going to understand what the system has done to make it hard for you. That child is not going to understand that. All that child knows is you are not there. And so is that child not worth that fight? Is there not some reason why you could find... Listen, we say it all the time.
Michelle, can I ask you a question? Michelle, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Michelle.
Go ahead.
Who makes up society, especially in the Bahamas, 60% of women? Who has the power to change the laws? To simply say, I want my father to have that right. I want the court to make him accountable.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm not disagreeing with you on that point.
Michelle, the law is what is enforced. What I'm saying to you is this: if you see a problem and the law is part of the problem, we can fix it. You're saying if the law is there, let's keep the law as it is, and he should just fight harder.
No, I never said that. I never said that.
No, but
I never said that.
Can I interject?
25 years ago, for the very current impact we're feeling today, we could have fixed this law. See, the point is this: there should be no need for a father to fight. That's the part we're missing.
There shouldn't be. Nobody here should agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Yolanda. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Based on the clip that Michelle played, we were casting that as the focus for this part. And she talked about the child that she, witnessed in the convenience store. I can say I was that child. And what I want to say is, firstly, a person cannot take you beyond where they have either been exposed to, or received. And the reality of it is, when it comes to a lot of relationships, there's this word in law called illegitimate expectations. Because yes, I am out here impregnating someone, but I was never fathered. And so, but with there being an intervention, I can't give what I've not received, been exposed to, or been trained at. And so oftentimes we are getting frustrated when we have illegitimate expectations on the table. First, secondly, allow me to finish. Secondly, being that child.
Hold on, C. Allen.
Secondly, and this has nothing to do with legislation, being that child. I was in university in Cave Hill, Barbados. I was in my apartment, St. Michael's, Barbados. I sat on the floor. And the first time in my life at that point, this would have been in September of 1995. I realized for me as a young lady, I kept hitting ceilings in my life. I would excel, do well, but it seemed like there was this invisible barrier that stopped me from going further. And as I sat on my apartment floor and I began to cry, and I'm like, God, what is this that's stopping me? And here's the analogy that I got as that child from the convenience store. He said, the first decision that God made about you, before the doctors knew whether you would be female or male, the first decision that God made about you was who your father would be, the bloodline that you would come through. That's the first decision. Your father chose the incubator, but the decision, the life is in the seed. The first decision God made about me was the fact that I would come through the bloodline of Kenneth Livingston Christie. My father was absent. I love him with all my heart. We have the best relationship today. But my father was absent. And I was angry at God's first decision about me. And here's what the Holy Spirit had to say to me, crying on my apartment floor. He said, Yolanda, you're taking your process too personally, because what you have to understand is sometimes a person is only qualified enough to get you here, but disqualified from raising you and being intimately in your life.
Oh my God.
Because the truth of the matter, hear me, this is talking from that child. I was angry, frustrated. Why was my dad not there? Had nothing to do with legislation. My mom wasn't stopping him from seeing me. Yes, they were divorced from I was 3, but he had all access. But at that place in his life, I represented something to him that he could not manage, which was a failed marriage. So when he looked at me, when my mom looked at me, I thought my mom hated me for most of my life, because if you see my dad, I look like a female of my dad. And every time my mom looked at me, I would get snapped at. I would get, and I'm like, what, does someone hate me? And so what I realized was that when my mother looked at me, what she was seeing was a failed marriage and not her daughter. And so when my dad looked at me, his having the access that he was all free to have, he did not want to come into the environment that was hostile. And so he chose to stay away. And I was collateral damage. I got swept into the whirlwind. And so it took an all-wise God to take me to university to say to me, Yolanda, you are meeting that block and that ceiling because you are angry with the first decision I made about you. And that's the fact that Kenneth would be your dad. And he said, so long as you don't reconcile that within yourself, not a legislation, not a piece of paper, not a politician, if you don't reconcile that in yourself, you're going to keep meeting the ceilings. And so he said to me, I needed you to come through the Christie bloodline because there was an assignment for you in the Christie bloodline. I needed you to come in the Miller bloodline because there was an assignment for you in the Miller bloodline. However, I could not allow Kenneth to be in your life for all of those steps because the person that you are sitting on this apartment floor, you would not be had he been in your life for the entire time. There's always a purpose. You have to see the greater purpose. And so I sat on that floor. I called my father in tears and said these words to him, Daddy, I forgive you. And that was the end of the conversation. From that day to now, That ceiling that I felt that I could not understand, I no longer felt it. Why? Because I reconciled, stopped taking my process personally, and reconciled with the first decision that God made about me. And so those who we're calling deadbeat dad, those sperm donors, oftentimes we as women, we as even other men who are the good fathers, sometimes we have illegitimate expectations, because how am I expecting a fatherless child to now father if he does not have a blueprint or someone to help him create a blueprint? So our expectations oftentimes in our country are illegitimate. They're illegitimate. And our mothers have illegitimate expectations as well. And so we have to now take ownership of our ignorant postures before we seek to be meeting our judgments. Because you can't, when you met him, when you went on the first date with him, you saw that he had no father. You saw how he lived. You saw the state of his house. You figured you having a child was going to create some new utopic world. No, you have an illegitimate expectation, except you come to the meeting, the drawing table, and say, listen, I know that your dad wasn't in your life, but help me understand before I lay down with you. If we were to have a child, what would be the blueprint? Would you be in my child's life? What is your vision for fatherhood? What do you see? We don't have these conversations. We act ignorant, have the fun, and then have illegitimate expectations at the end.
Ms. Malcolm.
Wait, Cleveland. Let me let C. Allen get in here. Go ahead, C. Allen.
Essentially, let me get what she says. That if you by extension take the argument about the permissive will of God into that, then you could almost make that argument that every child without a father right now has a divine purpose that God wants them to experience that. Okay? And so this argument we begin to have about fatherless home then become mute, because no one can overcome the divine will of God. What has happened is we have broken families. And where does she get that expectation from? Where did my daughters get the expectation from as to what to expect in a man? By observation of how I love their mother, on how I treated and respected their mother and the women around me. And so when you say this expectation, you just made the argument concerning the 75% of women who creates the environment for the exclusion of the man. No, they don't force it. She just said it. She just said they create an environment that he doesn't want to insert himself in that negative environment. And I'm saying to you, law allows things to happen. And I mean, law is what God gives to create culture. And he gave man the authority to create laws. And he gave us the formula for which we should create laws to abide by. And I'm simply saying that if we want to change the culture of a nation, we do it in the law. And so that same women, those 75% women that creates that hostile environment, law would negate that. Because it doesn't matter how she feels, right? And he doesn't have to be around her, but that feeling and emotionalism does not strip him of his authority, and he gets to insert himself by legal means.
If your proposition relative to the law was so true and accurate, C. Allen, we would be like Norway today, who just passed a legislation to close their prisons because there are no more criminals.
But you're making my argument again.
If the law could do what you are proposing that it would do, we would not be in this state. So I think you are sizing legislation.
I don't think so, Ms. Rowe. You're not making
30 seconds. You are making my argument. Had we had laws that would work towards the restoration and maintenance of the family, right? Then we would be where Norway is today, rather than broken families, broken homes, and a broken society. Norway didn't create the law of closing the prison. They came we like to use Norway, Singapore, and everything. And one of the things we don't want is the laws that they created, that created the society we want to mimic. Okay? So we can't simply say we want to copy something today when we must look at how we build the foundation. And I say, go back to the one foundation we came from, the blueprint that she said, the BIBLE, the basic instruction book for us. And if we begin to create laws that sets in place those same things, the same way we create laws for thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and everything else, we could still create laws that put within the social safety net. These laws are part of what is called an aggressive social safety net for all of the things that we want to accomplish.
But see, Alan, and I can let you jump in right now, Cleaver. The point that you're missing, see, Alan, is nobody is disagreeing with what you're saying.
No.
Nobody disagreeing with that.
No, but I'm saying
hold on, see, Alan. But what we are saying is that until such time as these laws are enacted, fixed, enacted, whatever, until such time, we still have a generation of children who are falling into those cracks.
What was stopping, Michelle? What
And
was
those,
stopping?
see, Alan,
no,
see, Alan, you missing the point. Nobody is arguing against what you're saying about the importance of the law being changed. Ain't nobody saying that.
Yes.
But while we wait for this to happen, while we work on changing the law, what happens to those children who are being impacted because their fathers are not in their lives? Those children don't have no knowledge of your law. But what they do know is that their father is not there.
I want to use this whole argument to prove my point. But see, I'm saying to you, if we don't do anything to stop this right now, right? Let me tell you why. Because in the law, for instance, we have this so-called manufactured consent in the Bahamas. Let's go back to what you said about children. We have a misinterpretation or a misleading of Bahamians in the Bahamas concerning women's rights. It says, and I have a $10,000 reward for this. Go to the Constitution, and we preach that women don't have no right in the Constitution to pass on their birthright for children born out of the country, both married and unmarried. We have an argument concerning a man's right to give citizenship to a wife. It does not say that in the Constitution. We must begin to say things in context. It says, my point, Michelle, it says this.
I need you to make it quick because, hold on. I need you to make it quick because we have a call who's been holding for a while.
Right. The only person in the Constitution today that does not have a right, nowhere, never mentioned in the Constitution, is a single Bahamian man with a child born outside of the country. We just corrected with a single Bahamian man. The Constitution, with that other one outside the country, make no mention of it. But the Constitution
let's go to the caller.
I'm saying you, these are rights that, see, unless we can actually look at things for what it is rather than what we want it to be or what we've been told it is, right? We've been letting people tell us what it is.
But nobody is disagreeing with you.
No, I don't want to disagree. You're talking around it because I say to you, if the law is needed now, your argument is in the law in here, and I'm saying.
And you're talking about the father that wants the law to work for him.
That is not the argument, Alan. Let's go to the caller. Let's go to the caller before we lose this caller. Caller, welcome to GPS.
We're not talking about.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. This is quite a hot button issue, but I just had a point that C. Allen made when he talked about women creating a hostile environment.
No, who said that?
Let the woman talk.
I just wanted to say, he had mentioned that about the environment being hostile and that it's not welcoming for the father. And you have to think about it from the perspective of that mother of relationships within our country, and that exchange. And I was thinking to myself, it becomes a hostile environment for them when the mother or the woman has certain expectations of that man as he'll be involved in the child or children's life. And when he does not meet those expectations, and you mentioned those, they basically, it's a complete turn off. They're like, man, I don't need you in my life. We really don't need you because you really aren't doing what's expected of you. And it's not really an excuse, just like your other panelist was explaining her testimony with her father, and that's an explanation and not an excuse. They really don't know how, and it's what the children represent. And when they don't know how to parent, because they didn't have an example in their life, I wouldn't say that it's a hostile environment at all. It's simply, it becomes a situation where you represent something in our lives that, that's null and void. And so they're not welcome. They're not contributing anything to the needs of the children. And I know of women who feel that way. you know, and the kids, they get to see their dad, but they really, really just can't deal with them and the fact that they're non-contributory to the needs of their children. And I just want to point that out. But I thank your panelist. I think her name is Miss Christie, for sharing her story. Because, I mean, it's just what many of the fathers deal with in a nutshell. It was really, really profound. So thank you for that. Take care.
Okay, thank you for calling. Cleve, I can let you jump in right now. I just want to say this, that, see, Alan, nobody here is suggesting that we should not do what we need to do to fix the law. Okay, if that's what you're interpreting what I'm trying to say, you're missing my point. I'm not trying to dance around the fact that the law needs to be addressed. It does. Nobody's disagreeing with that. My point is that while we are going through the process, while we taking the time to do what we do to fix whatever, we still cannot ignore the needs of the children who are being impacted now. And I'm not disagreeing that if the law was different.
That's the
yes,
point.
but the safety net is not there now. So what happens to those children now?
You can do nothing.
Let me say this very quickly. I'm going to say this very quickly.
Go ahead, Cleaver, and then we have another call. Go ahead, Cleaver.
During my advocacy days and infancy stage, because my daughter is 26 now. But I'll say this. In the absentee, with the laws not being up to scratch and not giving fathers any type of parental involvement at that time, I took it upon myself. You said what to do? I'll tell you what I do. I violated every existing law known to man in the Bahamas. The court gave me weekends. If I asked my daughter, you ready to go home now? She said, no, no is no. She remained. But I was arrested. I was placed in every cell you can think of in Nassau because they said that I was kidnapping. You see, so there's nothing much if you're prepared. So if in the absentee, by not having this up-to-date legislation, fathers will be in violation and can be arrested. How many men are going to sleep in a dirty, scummy cell? You see, Norway closed their prisons because they are doing the opposite of what we are doing. In Norway, Denmark, which happens to be the most safest place on planet Earth, they have child-friendly legislation. They don't have no legislation talking about in the case of a child born out of wedlock, the mother, the father will have to prove this and prove that. They don't have those things, Ms. Malcolm. We have these things. Now, if you want the father who, I see our laws right now makes it very easy. And perhaps you could invite the chairman of the Deadbeat Dads on your show next time so he could be more specific and more clear, bring more clarity as to why they are so lousy. But I speak for the father who wants to play that important role.
I get that. Both you and C. Allen do. But we cannot ignore the fact that there are some fathers out there, some men out there.
Yes, they're called pastors, they're called politicians, they're called...
Listen,
That's them.
All kind.
Michelle,
we can't call on C. Allen. We cannot ignore the fact that they exist. And they're dropping these seeds all over the place, and these children are suffering as a result. And we can't ignore the needs of those children because the law ain't in place yet. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Okay,
we have a call on the line. We have a caller on the line. We have a caller on the line. And they've been holding for a long time. Let's go to them, and then you can make your point, C. Allen. Caller, go ahead. If you're still there. Are they still there, Jason? Talk to me, please. Okay, I guess we lost that caller. Go ahead, C. Allen.
Michelle, if women want the law to change for the social safety net for the benefit of their children with 60% of the population and at least 50% or even 25% of the men joining them, we could have it done.
Okay, point well taken.
So,
point well taken.
So I'm simply saying this, if we want to fix this problem, let's bring equity to our child raising. Let's talk about invoking a functioning social safety net that we as a society knows. where those pastors and those individuals who don't want to take care of their children, let's create it just like other developed countries do. If I don't take care of my child and the state take care of it, it becomes a loan against me. And when the loan reaches a certain point, I become whole liable for failure to doing that. They seize my passport, they seize my driver's license, they take my car, they take whatever else. It's the consequences. Then we will both begin to think about the consequences of having children. It then changes our behavior. And
we have another call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lady Malcolm, and to all of your guests.
Good afternoon.
I stand in here, sitting here listening to this show, and it baffles me because the back and forth, I don't understand it because, like you say, Lady Malcolm, there will always be no good dudes out there, as well as females, and then they're going to be the good ones like Cialan and Cleaver. Myself, I had 23 children, and guess what? I tried my best to keep all them children together, even although I lost a lot of relationships because of it in terms of the older females. But I did that deliberately because I didn't want all the children to be out there wandering all over the place. You understand? I adopted 5 more that wasn't mine. You know what I mean? And I was put in court once or twice, but I defied the court rules and I did what I had to do. Even if it means like Cleveland said, to get locked up. And it did. I don't know where them years gone. You know what I mean? If you could be a good daddy, just be one. You know what I mean? It don't make a difference, man.
I just think, I want to thank you, caller, because we have another call on the line, but I just think that.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say that, man.
Yeah, thanks for calling. To Cleaver's point, the system was working against him, but he did what he needed to do to have access to his child. And that's the only point I've been trying to make, that child is worth the climb. Yeah, that child is worth.
But do we have a prison?
You can ask. You see the young men, his fathers, they can get involved in the PTA. That's what I did. I got involved in PTA. Every school my daughter was at, I was either president.
Thank you. There are more ways than one to spin up the gap. That's the only point.
Why are we talking about maintaining the mountain? Remove the mountain. Remove the fence.
Nobody is disagreeing with you. Why you can't get that through your head? Ain't nobody disagreeing with you.
It's like you want to applaud that these fences and these walls are there and they can overcome it. I'm saying to you,
sir.
As a society, remove the walls.
You are missing the point. Nobody is saying that the walls shouldn't be removed. But until they are, somebody got to deal with these children. That's what you don't seem to be understanding.
You can do it the same, but you gotta be prepared to pay a price for it.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, Michelle. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi to your guests. It's a very interesting show you have here, Michelle. I wanted to look at it from another aspect as well because I know we can go on with this. But one of the things I noticed, well, first of all, let me just say that last year I wrote a book called How Daddy Issues Can Become God Issues. And every time I went to speak somewhere, they would ask me why I gave it that title. And I said simply because our issues with our fathers affects the way we see God.
This is true.
And I say that to say this because I think fatherlessness is not a coincidence. And because this is something that's happening worldwide, I think it's a direct plan of the enemy.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because what we see happening today, to get the man out of the home and so that the enemy can run rampant. But it also goes further. When you're talking about 70% or more of homes that are fatherless, consider when those kids grow up or when those kids go into the church and then they hear the pastor say, well, God is our heavenly Father. Mm-hmm. Now we can run around the church and give our neighbors high five, and because we always wanted to hear we have a Father and hear that God is our Father, that gets us excited. But when we go home and close our doors, the reality is those of us who never grew up with a father slapped us, that issue of fatherlessness slapped us in the face. Because as much as we want to see God as our Father, because we've never had a father, we can't relate to that. And then what we have is we have all over the world, we have millions of believers who are in church, who are trying to believe God for certain things, even to change our societies, but we can't because our faith is lacking because we don't see God as Father.
I agree with you, Carlo. The thing is, from my own personal experience, I will tell you how it impacted me. I learned from my mother that there is no knight in shining armor. If you need something done, get it done, right? And she didn't. I don't think she intended. I don't think she set out for that to be the lesson that I learned, but that's the lesson I learned. And so what it did was it created a certain degree of mistrust because you always have that fear of abandonment. And so you're right, that even translates to your relationship with your Heavenly Father. So as opposed to saying totally trusting in God, you always got in the back of your mind, well, what happened if he don't come through? Well, I got to do this in my own strength. I'm just speaking from my own experience now. It got to be to the point where at one point I was in prayer and the Lord had to say to me, I am not your earthly father. So because and this is before my dad and I obviously had that healing conversation. But the level of mistrust that it creates, because you're always afraid of abandonment. So as opposed to you opening yourself up to be abandoned, you figure, I got to do this on my, ain't no knight in shining armor showing up, so you got to get it done. And that's not healthy. So I agree with you 1,000%. It does impact your relationship with your Heavenly Father as well.
Well, I just think the whole point is that the enemy not just wanted to get our fathers out of the house, but to destroy the
I agree.
I
agree.
The enemy are the politicians.
The destruction of the family.
That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, all right. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Wow, we running out of time, y'all. We got 5 minutes
Yeah,
left.
it sounds like you was asking God for lunch money,
No, man. Listen, even as an adult, that follows you. I'm telling you.
It does, Michelle. It does.
Y'all need to understand.
It does. So you see this type of society. When you look at what is happening in our family structure, you see what is happening because of the lack of legislation.
Yes. And again, I never disagreed with that. I'm not in any way trying to minimize the need for that legislation. I'm not trying to do that in any which way. We have one more call on the line. Boy, Carl, you got to make this quick because we out of time. Make it quick.
Hello.
Yes, make it quick, please.
Yes. I just want to congratulate your guest there, the lady. She is spot on. And she's a God's woman. And I think she should come on more often and give her time on your show because she is fearless and standing on the word of God. And I congratulate her highly. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for calling. Okay, guys. See, Alan, I hope you ain't vexed with me now. You know me and you.
No, I can take my minute. I'm going to take my minute. I only need my minute because understand, Cleveland and I have made a decision. We're about to reinitiate this conversation. But if I want to take my minute, let me just say this. Okay?
Right. Go ahead.
We need to stop talking about we need to fight to overcome the hill and kick in the closed door when we have the ability to remove the hill and to open the door. Then we will see those fathers who do not want to make the effort. And then we will lose the legislation to make them accountable for their inactions. And so if the church is who they say they are, which is composed of mostly women, and the women in this society who have adopted the lies of the world about equality and making these erroneous arguments that even our Constitution don't support, then they should make the argument for the rights of their child, for the rights of access to their fathers, for the right of access to a social safety net in the absence of those fathers. Let's have that argument where you argue for your child rather than for this whole concept as fight, kick the door in, remove the door. Climb over the mountain, remove the mountain. We have that ability and we have the authority to do that. Let's do it rather than talk around it.
Yolanda, let's hear from you.
I'll end by something I said in the middle. There needs to be a marriage of all stakeholders. And I repeat, you cannot cure a spiritual spiritual illness with natural remedies. And that's my 5 cents.
Well, I'll say this, Ms. Malcolm, I feel embarrassed as a Black man that 21 years later, after we would have done so much with so little for so long to get the Child Protection Act to the stage where it's at, that we are still having this discussion as to whether or not fathers should play this role or that role. That bill, that act now, it was we fought for it, but we didn't do any demonstration, and we didn't do any walking up and down begging politicians to amend the law or to change the law, because in 1991, the government of that day, without any demonstration for or against, they went to Parliament and they legalized, under the disguise of the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act, they legalized buggery in the Bahamas in 91. Now I want to know who were those persons who were able to convince them to legalize buggery, but they want you to bow down to them and plead to them to live up to our international obligation, which is where the state would respect the rights of all parents to provide guidance, which is critical to the development of these children. The devil is a liar, and hell will free us all before I demonstrate that these jokey politicians to change the law. But we're going to get a change. I can assure you that. I'm not asking them. I'm telling them. They will yield, and we will get the law passed.
I want to say thank you. We out of time, C. Allen. I want to say thank you to C. Allen Johnson, Yolanda Roll, Cleaver Duncombe. Thank you all. This was a very invigorating conversation, and we got to do it again sometime in the future. I want to say thank you to all of you for being here today. I really appreciate it. But it's 4 o'clock. Got to get out of here. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow is a Wellness Wednesday, so be sure to tune in to find out how you can protect the health of yourself and your loved ones, particularly in this time where we see so much sickness and disease. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Take care, everybody. Have a good afternoon. I'll see you, God willing, same place, same time tomorrow afternoon. Good afternoon.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global.